Hello, fourth grade. So today we are going to put together a simple cardboard loom and start a simple plain tabby weaving. So what you're going to do first is get a piece of masking tape, tear it off or cut it off with a pair of scissors, put it on the table and write your name and the day you have art. Day A, day B, day C. You're going to peel it off the table and tape it to the middle of the cardboard. Then you're going to find the end of the warp string on the cone. So it's still, you see I don't have any scissors out. I'm not using scissors. So I'm going to take the end of the warp string, I'm going to put it down on the cardboard, pull off or cut off another piece of tape, and tape the end of the warp string to the cardboard. So now when I pull, the warp string is attached. Alright, so now what I want to do is I have all these little slits on each side of the cardboard. I want to pull the string through the slit, almost like teeth, and like I'm flossing my teeth. And I want to pull to where it's taut, so it's nice and straight. Now I can pull through this first one on this side, or I could stretch it over and pull through this one first. This one just makes more sense, so I'm going to pull straight through, pull taut, so that it is straight. Then flip it over to the other side. I'm going to come straight across to the first tooth on this side and pull tight so that this is taut and not loosey-goosey. So we don't want it like all loosey-goosey like this. We want to pull it to where it's nice and straight and taut. So then I come back around to the back, pull this through, taut, back through this tooth. So it's like I'm flossing my teeth, and I keep wrapping it around, making sure I go through each tooth. Now, if you look at the front, the strings are nice and vertical and straight. The strings on the back are crooked, they're diagonal, and that's okay. So now I've gone through the last tooth, so I'm going to get another piece of tape, tear it off or cut it off, and I'm going to tape the warp string to the cardboard. Now, and only now, will I get a pair of scissors and cut the warp string. And so now this is nice and straight and taut. And then this back here, these are secure with tape. So this is the back of my loom. This is the front of my loom. There are two parts, well, three parts to a weaving. The loom, the warp strings, which are these, and then the weft, which is the colored part that we're going to be weaving into our loom. Okay, so I'm going to limit my color choices to just a black and white. Weaving, you can use every color that I have, or you can limit your choices too. So I'm going to start with a piece of yarn that's about the length of my arm, because we don't need our pieces to be very long since our weaving is going to be so small. So a lot of times when we do bigger weavings, I say take 2 arms lengths, reach your arms way out straight and make the string that long. But since this one's such a small weaving, just 1 arm's length would be the longest that you really need to start with. So what you're going to do is you're going to do the plain weave where you go over one, under one, over one, under one. So this is called the plain tabby weave. So I'm going to go over a string, pick up a string and go under it. Over a string, pick up a string, go under it, and then over a string. And so now I'm going to pull this first string until I have a little tail, and then I push this all the way up. Now when I go back, I find the end of the beginning of the string. Now I'm going to go back the way I came, but I'm going to do opposite of what I did here. So if you look, my black yarn is on top of the white string. So I'm going to lift up this first warp string and go under it because I'm on top of it here. So under, over, under, over, under. And I like to bend the front of my yarn so that it doesn't fray. If I keep it straight like this and I keep pushing it through straight like this, the end tends to fray. So now I'm going to pull this, and I'm going to pull until this loop touches the warp string. Now it's touching and I'm done, so I'm going to push up and pack these together. And you want these put close together. So a trick that one of my students taught me was they took a pencil and put it underneath each of the strings. And this just helps to go under and over them a little bit easier than trying to pick them up. So now I'm going to go back this direction, and so I am under this first string because the white string is on top of the black, so I'm under it. So I'm going to go over the first one, under it, over, under, and pull. And again, when this loop touches the string, I stop and I push up. And I'm just going to keep going back and forth, doing the opposite of what I did last time. So the black yarn is on top of the warp string, so I start under the first warp string, over, under, over, stop when the loop touches, and push up. Okay, so I've gotten to the end of this string. If I go across, I could probably go across one more time, but that wouldn't leave me any space to tie a knot. So now I'm going to choose a new color, white. I'm going to tie the ends together in a knot. So I wrap them around and then make a loop, swoop through the loop, and pull tight. And then I go to the end of the white string, find the end of it, and I just keep weaving over one, under one, over one, under one. Okay, I've got it wrapped around the pencil, so I need to get that out and then pull through. And I just pull the knot through and push this up. Now the bunny ears here, I'm going to leave sticking up, and this will be, you'll be looking at the back of your weaving the whole time. When we take it off the loom, the side that you don't see right now, that'll be the front. So we just always make sure that the bunny ears are sticking up. So let me show you some mistakes that could be made when you're weaving. So one of the mistakes that's made is not alternating correctly. So if you don't alternate and you do the same weave that you did last time, this is what happens. When you pull it across, it comes undone. So your last weaving, the last string that you wove, comes undone. So you know if you pull and it comes undone that you alternated incorrectly. So what that means is my white string is under this first warp string, so I have to go over the first warp string in order for it not to come undone. Okay, and again, I leave the bunny ears sticking up. Another mistake that is made is when you pull this across, instead of stopping when the loop touches the string and pushing up, people pull it tighter, and then see how the string starts to bend. Right here it starts to bend because you've pulled too tight. And what will happen is your weaving will be more of an hourglass shape instead of a rectangle. So you want to make sure that when you're pulling across, when that loop touches, you stop pulling and you just push straight up. And you've got to pack these up close together. Don't leave them loose like this. You can leave them loose like this for a little while, but you might think, oh, okay, I'm done. See how you can see the warp strings between the black? That's not okay. You've got to pack these up so you can no longer see the warp strings. So you're going to keep doing this over and over again until you get to the end of the loom. So you're going to keep doing this until you get to the bottom of the loom down here and you can't weave any more. And make sure that you go over one, under one, over one, under one, and that you don't accidentally go under two and over one, and then that'll mess up your alternating. So I'm going to come back to you when my weaving is full and show you how to finish off your weaving and take it off the cardboard. Alright, so as you get to the bottom of your weaving, it's going to get more difficult to fit yarn underneath each one and to lift these. So I'm almost at the end of my yarn. When you're getting closer to the bottom, don't cut off a big long piece in case you can't fit it under there. We don't want to be wasteful. So cut smaller pieces as you get closer to the bottom. So I need to go under this first one, and it's a little tight and hard to get under there. Just do the best you can and try to use up the yarn that you have that you cut. Don't cut it off and throw it in the trash. So the way that I find is easiest is if I push this up so that I can get underneath the string. Alright, and I'll go across one more time and then call it quits. Okay, so there's the end. And it's not all the way at the very bottom, but it's very close. I could pull these down a little bit. Notice how packed up this is. You cannot see these warp strings in my weaving. They are completely covered. Alright. So now we're going to take it off the loom. What I'm going to do first is trim all my bunny ears and make them just a little bit shorter. I don't want to trim them too short to where they come untied. Okay, so I know this doesn't look the prettiest. This little bit here can be thrown away. Now we're going to take it off the loom. So I'm going to flip my loom over, and I'm going to pull off the 2 pieces of masking tape that are taped without my name on them. They're there to hold the ends of the string. So now you have these 2 loose strings, and you should have about 4 strings going across the middle. You're going to take your scissors and cut them in half, from top to bottom, in half all the way across. Okay, so now I'm going to flip it back over, and I'm going to pull 2 strings out at a time, very carefully, 1, 2, and now I'm going to tie these in a knot. So I'm going to take these 2, make a loop with these 2, put the tail through the loop, and pull. I'm going to stop pulling when it touches the yarn. I don't want to pull real tight, or I can make this all wavy and wobbly. And then I'm going to do it one more time. I make a loop, swish the tail through the loop, and pull tight this time to make a knot. So now I'm going to take the next 2 strings, and I'm going to tie a knot, make a loop, tail through the loop, pull, stop when I get to the black yarn, and now pull tight. And now I have 1 string left over, so I'm going to choose to take one of these from this last knot and tie it to this one. So this side is tied, and I have 1 string that's a little bit longer than the rest of them, so I'm going to trim that. But don't trim these, because we need these to tie later. So then I come to the other side, and I'm going to take 2 strings, pull them up out of the teeth, and tie a knot again. Take the next 2. Alright, and then this last knot I tie to this last string. So I take one of these and tie it to this last string. Okay, now I can remove it from the loom, and this part is going to be mine. The cardboard's mine, so don't break it or recycle it. Pull off your name piece of tape and tape it to the back of your weaving, and make sure it stays stuck and it's not all not sticky anymore. And then I have this 1 string that's a little bit longer, so I'm going to trim that to match, but I'm not going to cut these any shorter. I'm going to trim this a little bit shorter. And remember how this is the back of my weaving. It's not real pretty, so watch. When I flip this over, look how pretty it is. And that's beautiful. So there is your finished weaving.